The stage lights dimmed at 3:17 a.m. in Camden, and nobody could believe what Amy Winehouse had just done. In that moment, watching her collapse behind the piano, everyone finally understood the price of genius. She was only 27 years old when the world lost one of its most authentic voices. But the story of that final performance begins much earlier, in a small London flat, where a teenage girl with a voice too big for her body first discovered both her gift and her curse. Amy Jade Winehouse wasn't just another singer. She was a raw nerve exposed to the world, channeling pain into melodies that made strangers weep. Picture this: a 14-year-old girl, rebellious and fierce, standing in her grandmother's kitchen, singing jazz standards while smoking cigarettes she'd stolen from her mother's purse. Her grandmother Cynthia, a former singer herself, recognized something extraordinary. "You've got it, Bubble A," she whispered in Yiddish, "but promise me you'll be careful with it." Amy laughed then, not knowing that her gift would become both her salvation and her destruction. But here's what nobody talks about. The real story isn't about her death. It's about how she lived, fought, and loved with an intensity that terrified everyone around her. The music industry first noticed Amy when she was just 16. A friend secretly submitted a demo tape to Island Records, and within weeks executives were fighting over who would sign her. They saw dollar signs, but Amy saw something else entirely, a chance to be heard, really heard for the first time in her life. She walked into that first meeting, wearing ripped jeans, and her grandfather's bowling shirt, her beehive already reaching toward the ceiling, like a crown of defiance. "I won't change for anyone," she told them, lighting a cigarette in the no-smoking conference room. The executives exchanged glances. They had no idea they were witnessing the birth of a legend who would refuse to be tamed. Simon Fuller, who managed the Spice Girls, tried to mold her into a pop princess. Amy fired him after 3 months. "I'm not a puppet," she said. "I'm an artist." Her first album, Frank, released when she was just 20, shocked critics with its raw honesty. Here was a young woman singing about sex, heartbreak and disappointment with the wisdom of someone 3 times her age. But Amy wasn't satisfied. "It's too clean," she complained to her producer. "Where's the mess? Where's the truth? Wait until you hear what happened next." Because this is where Amy's story takes its darkest turn. Then Blake Fielder Civil walked into her life at a Camden pub in 2005. Their eyes met across the smoky room, and witnesses say it was like watching 2 tornadoes collide. Blake was everything Amy's family warned her about: charismatic, dangerous, already deep into drugs she'd never tried. But Amy saw a kindred spirit, someone else who lived on the edge of destruction. Their relationship was explosive from the start. They'd fight in public, make up in private, and write their drama across London's tabloid pages. Amy's friends watched helplessly as she transformed from a girl who occasionally smoked weed to someone chasing darker highs. "He's killing her," her childhood friend Juliet Ashby said. But Amy wouldn't listen. She was addicted to Blake as much as anything else. During this chaos, Amy wrote Back to Black, the album that would define her career and haunt her legacy. Every song bled with the pain of her toxic love affair. She recorded Rehab in 1 take, tears streaming down her face, refusing to do another because the first one had the truth in it. Producer Mark Ronson later said he'd never seen anyone so willing to tear themselves apart for their art. But the most shocking part wasn't the drugs or the relationship. It was what her own father did when she needed him most. When Rehab exploded globally, making Amy an international superstar overnight, her father Mitch saw opportunity where he should have seen danger. Instead of protecting his fragile daughter, he brought camera crews to her private moments, pitching reality shows about the crazy Winehouse family. Amy, already struggling with bulimia since age 15, now had to deal with paparazzi documenting every stumble, every tear, every moment of weakness. The pressure was unbearable. Amy would perform to sold-out crowds, pouring her soul into every note, then retreat to her Camden flat to drink herself unconscious. Her bodyguards found her passed out in bathrooms, in stairwells, once in a stranger's garden at 4 a.m. "I just wanted to disappear," she later admitted in one of her final interviews, "but the music wouldn't let me." Her mother Janice battled multiple sclerosis and couldn't provide the stability Amy desperately needed. Her parents' divorce when she was 9 had shattered her sense of security, leaving her constantly seeking love in all the wrong places. Amy was looking for someone to save her, her manager later revealed, but she kept choosing people who needed saving themselves. You won't believe what happened at the Grammy Awards, the night that should have been her greatest triumph. February 10, 2008. Amy was supposed to perform at the Grammy Awards in Los Angeles, where she was nominated for 6 awards. But the U.S. Embassy denied her visa due to her drug arrests. She had to perform via satellite from London, standing alone in a small studio while the biggest stars in music watched from across the ocean. When they announced she'd won 5 Grammys, tying the record for most wins by a female artist in one night, Amy looked lost, almost confused. "I can't feel anything," she whispered to her friend after the cameras stopped rolling. She'd reached the pinnacle of success, but felt emptier than ever. The girl who just wanted to sing jazz in small clubs was now a global superstar, and it was destroying her. She called Blake in prison that night. He'd been arrested for assault, and they cried together on the phone until dawn. The rehabilitation attempts became a public spectacle. Amy would check into facilities, leave after days, sometimes hours. The paparazzi counted every attempt, publishing scorecards of her failures. At one facility in St. Lucia, she escaped by climbing over a wall in her bare feet, running down the beach until her bodyguard caught her. "This isn't helping," she screamed. "The pain is inside me. How can a building fix that?" But then something unexpected happened that gave everyone hope. Until that fateful night in Belgrade. In 2010, Amy seemed to be turning a corner. She'd divorced Blake, moved to St. Lucia for a fresh start, and was writing new music. Friends reported seeing glimpses of the old Amy, funny, sharp, passionate about her art. She adopted a cat named Shirley, started painting, even talked about having children someday. "I want to be a mum," she told her doctor, "but I need to get better first." She began working on a jazz album with Tony Bennett, fulfilling a lifelong dream. In the studio, Bennett was amazed by her professionalism and talent. "She knew every harmony, every note," he said. "When she was singing, she was completely present." For those few hours in the recording booth, Amy found peace, but the demons always returned at night. She replaced drugs with alcohol, drinking bottles of vodka like water. Her tiny frame, already weakened by years of bulimia, couldn't handle the assault. Doctors warned her repeatedly. Her body was shutting down. Amy would nod, promise to stop, then lock herself in her room with another bottle. The Belgrade concert in June 2011 was supposed to be her comeback. Instead, it became her public execution. When Amy stumbled onto the stage in Belgrade, barely able to stand, the audience turned from excited to horrified in seconds. She forgot lyrics to songs she'd sung thousands of times, wandered aimlessly around the stage, at one point sitting down and refusing to move. The crowd booed. Some threw things. The footage went viral within hours. Amy Winehouse, the genius who couldn't save herself, humiliated on the world stage. She flew back to London in silence, staring out the window of the private jet her father had insisted on booking. Her bodyguard, Andrew Morris, later said he'd never seen anyone look so defeated. "It was like watching someone realize they were never going to win the fight," he recalled. Amy locked herself in her Camden home, refusing to see anyone except her doctor. On July 22, 2011, Amy called her mother. "I love you, Mummy," she said. "I'm sorry for everything." Janice thought Amy sounded clearer than she had in months. They talked about going shopping the next week, maybe getting their nails done together. It was the last time they would speak. What happened in those final hours shocked even those who knew her best. That Friday night, Amy was alone in her bedroom, watching YouTube videos of herself performing in the early days, before fame poisoned everything. Her bodyguard checked on her at midnight. She was sitting at her drums, tapping out rhythms only she could hear. "I'm fine," she told him. "Just can't sleep." At 3 a.m., she sent a text to her ex-boyfriend Reg Travis. "I love you. Remember me as I was, not as I am." He was asleep, and wouldn't see the message until it was too late. Amy then walked to her bedroom window, looking out at Camden, the place that made her and destroyed her in equal measure. The last song she ever listened to was one of her own, "Love is a Losing Game." The bitter irony wasn't lost on those who found her iPod still playing on repeat the next afternoon. She'd written her own epitaph years before, too honest even for herself to fully understand. When they found Amy at 3:54 p.m. on July 23, 2011, she was lying on her bed, peaceful for perhaps the first time in years. The autopsy revealed she'd died from alcohol poisoning. Her blood alcohol level was 5 times the legal limit. But here's what the reports didn't capture. Scattered around her room were dozens of handwritten lyrics for songs the world would never hear, all about redemption, hope, and starting over. Her final recording, made just days before her death, was a voicemail to her goddaughter where she sang a lullaby in a voice so pure, it made the recording engineer cry when he heard it later. "Sleep tight, little one," she whispered at the end. "Dream better dreams than I did." Amy Winehouse died at 27, joining the infamous 27 Club with Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, and Kurt Cobain. But unlike them, Amy's death felt preventable. A slow-motion tragedy everyone watched but nobody could stop. She was a girl who just wanted to sing, destroyed by a world that demanded she be a superstar. Today, her music lives on, raw and honest as the day she recorded it. Young artists cite her as inspiration, not just for her voice but for her refusal to compromise her truth. The Amy Winehouse Foundation, established by her family, helps young people struggling with addiction. It's a bittersweet legacy. Amy couldn't save herself, but maybe her story can save others. In Camden, tourists still make pilgrimages to her statue, leaving flowers, bottles of wine, and handwritten notes. "Thank you for feeling when we couldn't," one read. "Thank you for being real when everyone else was fake." Amy would have hated the statue. She never wanted to be frozen in bronze. She wanted to be remembered for her music, her truth, her refusal to be anything other than exactly who she was. The real tragedy of Amy Winehouse isn't that she died young, it's that she lived in so much pain, carrying the weight of everyone's expectations while fighting battles nobody understood. She gave us her truth, in 3-minute songs that will outlive us all. In the end, Amy Winehouse didn't need redemption. She was already perfect in her beautiful imperfection. She just needed someone to tell her it was okay to stop performing and simply exist. What would you have done if you'd known her? Would you have tried to save her? Or would you have been another voice in the chorus demanding she keep singing while she drowned? We all played a part in Amy's story, as consumers of her pain, transformed into art we couldn't stop listening to. Her voice still echoes through time, reminding us that behind every brilliant performance is a human being, who just wants to be loved for who they are, not what they can give us. Rest in peace, Amy Jade Winehouse. You were enough. You were always enough.